right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines for today, Monday. It's the 18th day of December already. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. As I hinted to you last Monday, this week we will be engaging with the hierarchy of the RGPF. So in studio with me this evening are ASPs Randel, Baptiste and ASP Hall, and of course my good friend Assistant Commissioner Vannie Curwen. And this evening we will be looking at security and all the sorts of, security logistics as it relates to what we refer to as the Yuletide season. Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome to the program.
Good evening. Thank you, and thanks for GBN for hosting us for another time as we can share security messages with the public.
Well, GBN and the RGPF go hand in hand,
Most definitely.
It's a team thing. All right, as I hinted earlier, we'll be looking primarily at security for the season, and not just for the season, but security generally, because security is an ongoing process. Before we get into the meat of the matter, I'd like to take the opportunity and congratulate Mr. Curwen and his team for a well-executed 2 days of ICC cricket. Kudos go out to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the security manager for West Indies shared the same concern. In fact, he said that we made his job very much easy because when we had our initial discussion with him, most of what he expected or most of what he came to discuss with us, we already had that planned. Yeah. So he had, very little to do. Yeah. I'm just thankful to the Grenadian public that they came out and behaved as we expected. There was the matches were incident-free. Kudos to the friendliness, the warmth, and the obedience of our people.
And that speaks volumes. I don't know if we as a people really understand how much it means to us on the regional and international communities. Grenada is now being renowned for one of the best behaved set of people in the world. And we know that already,
Indeed.
We know that already, despite the little upsurge here and there as it relates to criminal activity. But when we do a comparison, Grenada is really, really on safe grounds. All right, so now that we've done the preamble, let's get to the meat of the matter. Security for the Yuletide season. Already we can see an increase in police presence as you walk through the streets. I know later on some folks, when we give them the opportunity to call and maybe ask a question or two to seek clarification on certain things, I know one of the primary thing that they will be talking about is this situation with our streets in the town of St. George's. But of course I know the RGPF will have justifiable reasons for things being as they are, and I know for a fact that all efforts are being made to ensure that traffic on a whole, especially in the town of St. George's, go smoothly. So we'll get to that. But what are some of the strategies we have from the RGPF's perspective as it relates to security and protection of person and properties during the season?
Maybe I'll open that here as a preamble to the discussion, and Mr. Hall will get into the intricate issues of the targets, hardening, etc., etc. This time last year, we had some issues, as everybody knew. We had a few robberies this time last year. And so we went back to the drawing board, and we've done some soul searching, we've done some security strategies, and we have employed some new thinking in 2023 as we did in 2022. There are some covert operations and some overt operations. There are things you would see and things you will not see. But by and large, those strategies that we have put in place have significantly reduced the incidences of robbery, and we have seen crime start coming down quite a lot. You spoke about police presence in the beginning. We did promise that there were going to be increased police presence on our streets, and there are increased police presence on our streets. There are police presence that you see and police presence that you don't see.
And that's a tricky one.
You don't see.
That's a tricky
and those that you don't see, those that you see act, as deterrent to crime, and that those that you see and those that you don't see eventually help us solve most of the crimes that we are solving. And at this juncture, I want to start off the discussion by it's not too early to do that, thanking our population again. Saying the successes we have had in 2022, and they're tremendous, was by and large due to the collaboration we've had with working with our constituents. There are people who Grenadians are generally law-abiding citizens, and we have seen that a lot this year, perhaps more than some years before, where people realize that we're not going to lose our turf, we're not going to lose ground or lose territory to criminals. And so there are people who went out of their way to ensure that they inform us as to what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what they know, and those information caused us to have some significant successes in 2023. And I want to go on record all in the presentation to thank the Grenadian public for the continued support in working with law enforcement to ensure that we leave Grenada better for our children and our grandchildren. So by way of opening, I would want to set that tone.
All right. So just like everybody else, the criminal factions, they up their game ever so often. The police increase and improve on their security measures. The criminals find ways to go a step ahead, or so they think. But we also know that from previous interviews that I did with the RGPF, I've learned about the crime triangle. So I know that residents, citizens have a very integral part to play as it relates to the avoidance of crime, like robberies and so forth. So I want to use this opportunity to allow you to assist the citizenry as it relates to the things that they should and shouldn't do, especially around now, not only now, but especially around this heightened activity season.
Good night to you and good night to the listening public. Let me start with the crime triangle, as you alluded to earlier. The crime triangle basically includes the victim, the offender, and you have an opportunity. In order for a crime to commit, you must have the commitment by someone to commit that crime. So what we try to do as law enforcement is to educate the public as to how best they can reduce that opportunity. And there are 10 principles basically that follows crime prevention. Basically, you have target hardening, basically where you look to make it impossible and difficult for someone to enter a property. And examples of target hardening: you upgrade your bolts, your doors, your burglar proofing. You make sure your windows are properly locked. There are target removal, where you remove the items within view, ensure that your windows are properly locked. Sometimes for the Christmas you might find people with their curtain down. We advise against that. You go through town at night, you might see the shutters up and it expose everything. We advise that you bring down your curtain and ensure that your place is being properly secure. You don't want to invite someone, you don't want to show them as to what you have to attract them into your building. You don't want to tempt someone basically. You have target removal, you have access control. You try to ensure your doors and windows are always locked, and you don't want person to just walk in, just climb through a window and make it easy for them. You also look at environmental changes. In your home, you always try to keep your yard clean. If you might be living for a few days, ensure that the garbage is thrown out. You don't leave nothing to indicate that you are not there, right? You may want to deflect the offender. You may have the offender thinking that there is somebody there, because you might have motion sensor light that they enter the compound and a light going to come on at night. You want to ensure you have proper surveillance, where your CCTV is functioning, good CCTV. You have a 360 degree of your house where you can see from all corners. You don't want no trees or so to obscure any view.
No blind spots.
No blind spots. Yeah. So you can get clear view as to how what is taking place on your property. And these are some of the measures that you can employ to ensure that your place is safe. You want to make sure that you make it easy for apprehension of an offender if they should go ahead and steal your items. So what you can do, you can mark your items. If you go out and sell, you don't try to keep all your cash one place. You keep them in different locations like a sales van. So if you are intercepted and you're being robbed, what they may get in the bag, but there might be other money hidden in other spots. Going to function. We advise that you try to work with little cash. Your jewelry, there is no need for you to have this big amount of jewelry going to a function. A little cash, you don't want to have all this cash in hand. And likewise at home too, in the business place. You don't want to keep all your cash in the register with someone come in and they could just get from the cash register and steal it. What we have seen a lot of, Facebook seems to be dominating in terms of the whereabouts of persons and everybody brandishing the items that they have at their home. They want the general public to see what they are. I don't want to, it's kind of bragger in a sense, as we say,
And that's one of my concerns, with this Facebook, well, not just Facebook, but the social media on a whole. I mean, it has its pros and its cons, but it seems like people live their life in an exposed way because of the social platforms. I mean, sometimes if you're not home, and we're all men here now, so we can talk it that way. The ladies might listen. You're not. Let's assume Mr. Hall is a farmer, so he's in the garden, and his spouse is so into the social media that she cooks lunch, and somebody in New York would know what Mr. Hall is eating for lunch before you reach home and knows. That's how serious this thing is, And whereas, as you rightfully say, it has its good, but your ever presence in the social media, it gives the prospective culprit a clear knowledge as to your whereabouts.
But certainly by you posting your whereabouts, it's telling the offender that, hey, there is no one at home, that person is out. It's an opportunity for me now to enter that home and steal whatever I want undisturbed. So we advise strongly against that. In terms of children, again, we have issues where children have been left home, basically unattended at tender age. Persons come home, they may ask for a drink of water, and they may realize that these children are very vulnerable, and an opportunity is there to steal whatever they want. So in sending the child to get a glass of water, they steal that opportunity and they enter the house and they steal whatever items they're after. But if you can to eliminate this, the whole opportunity, the urge to get these items, if we follow these basic principles, I believe that we can help in reducing crime for the season.
And something that you raised that a lot of people might think it to be very trivial, but the fact of keeping your surroundings clean, big bushes in your yard it could be used as a concealment point.
Well, true, and even your hedges, your boundary line, you want to ensure that is clean. You want to get a clear view from the distance of your house to your boundary line. And sometimes you might think that you have a fence, but you're not paying attention to that. And when you do, there is an access point. Somebody probably cut your fence. So we advise that you check your fence as often as possible to ensure that it's properly, and there is no means that someone could enter from the back without you getting that view. One of the things that might be seen as trivial too is the issue of leaving your keys under the mat.
People still do that.
People still do that, and
that was done since the clock on the church in town was a watch. People still doing that. I can't believe people still doing that.
We advise strongly against, and this is where access control comes in. We try to ensure rule setting. Persons understand that everybody need to have a key. The last person getting in, ensure the house is properly secure, the windows, the doors are properly secure. We don't want keys to be hidden and somebody might be in the bushes observing and that key used in aiding the entry. What we find happening now, we're into the Christmas season and we have a lot of painting. So you find ladders, we're getting a lot of barrel. These can aid in persons climbing into your windows. You may think you leave a window open, but you have a ladder behind the house. You have a barrel that you just collected and you dispose of it right in the immediate vicinity of the house. This can aid someone in getting into your house. The tools that you use again to do your construction around your house, the pieces of brick and so, this can help really in the commission of an offense. So we advise that you try to keep around your house clean, get rid of these items around your house so no instrument could assist an offender in getting into your house.
Let me ask a question, and I'm asking this question based on something that was said this morning on my program this morning. A good friend of mine called and complained that someone came in close proximity to his house and stole 2 rams, whether it's last night or this morning, 1:30 or thereabout. And he is saying that the person went the opposite direction to where he was going. So while he went a particular way, they exited another way and took off with a vehicle. But the gist of the conversation was that if he had met that person, what he would have done. And even now, if he gets to know who that person is, what he will do. A question here. You meet someone in the act of burglary in your property, on your property, in your property. What are your rights as the victim here?
Well, you meet someone committing an offense, your property, you have the right to protect yourself on your property. But you must ensure that the force that you're using is reasonable force. You don't want to use excessive force. The person surrender themselves. There is no need for you to cause excessive harm to that person. Once you could get that person under control, it's adequate. However, we advise that you try to get in touch with the police as soon as possible. Let the police take whatever course of action that need to be taken.
So this is one of the cases where we don't really to take leverage on the Bible principle that the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy.
If I may just chip in here, because I'll make a very important point that I want to just zero in a little bit. While the law gives you permission to protect your person and your property and that of others, it also puts safeguard in place as to the degrees of force you can use for different type of offenses. And that is where it becomes tricky for some people. While the law allows you to use some force,
reasonable force.
Exactly. You in your own mind may not know what force is reasonable in these circumstances, and you may use more force than the situation requires, and you still find yourself in prison. You still find yourself charged. Because while you could have used some force, the degree of the force that you use far exceeds the threat that you face. Yeah. And there is a tricky dance here in understanding the balance between threat and force. And you have to get it right, because in some cases the law says you could use a blow, in some cases you could wound, in some cases you could cause death. But you have to know in what cases could you use each of these degrees, because in a case where the law may only allow you to use a blow, you may kill, and in that case the law is not forgiven. The force was excessive. So, it's important to, I would say it's important to not take the law into your own hands, Always call the police. We're here to help, we're here to respond, and we do respond, and we do provide the kind of, support and service that the public expect us to. Having said that, though, this is one conversation, but how do you tell somebody in the middle of the night somebody's in your house? Most people will do what they think, or what I'm thinking that they would do. The law justify you based on the type of offense being committed. So that delicate dance, you have to find the balance for.
Crime in this present day has become relatively scientific. Everything is, in the science nowadays. Why is it that, especially around this major festive season, you find an upsurge from a psychological standpoint? What are the criminals thinking? Okay, this is Christmas time, so you find more people like shopping on other people's lines. Everybody here about the term shopping online, so I'll go shop on that line today because, this sort of thing. What is the psychological background to this? Why is that so?
Well, you have to look at the cause. Why someone, as you say, want to commit an offense. What we have seen based on cases that we have solved, persons are driven by the cash. They want the money in their hand. So the items that they steal, they go after the cash. It's really to assist them in achieving what they want for the carnival season. So it's all driven by the cash.
Okay. And having said that, although we know the answer already, now someone whom is not involved in business, imports and exports, but they come and they offer you an item for sale and it's reasonably priced. and you purchase it, as the purchaser, what happens to you?
Well, there is an offense called receiving, and there are many points that could be used to prove that offense. As you rightfully say, you might know someone in the village that is not in a position to acquire the item or whatever that might be selling. The time again in which they come to sell it, the price in which they offer the item. You might see marks on the item, initial of probably not them. So it draws, suspicion that these items might be stolen items. So we have this offense receiving, that you as the person who purchased these items could be charged. It's a serious offense.
Okay. Right, so one of the other programs that I want us to have one of these days is with the predial larceny task force, because farmers are complaining, farmers are hurting, farmers are bleeding because of predial larceny, especially to farmers. But that is a conversation all by itself. A very critical factor as it relates to the festive season, again, is also traffic, and especially within the confines of our major towns, St. George's, Grenville, Sates to an extent. So ASP Baptiste is the big man in traffic. So I really want, especially in town, I mean, this morning on living here, we had to pass through St. George's, the town, and it is, I wouldn't want to call it an eyesore, but it's a crossword puzzle getting through traffic in town now. From the RGPF standpoint, what's up with this?
Pleasant good night to the listening and viewing public, and let me say thanks to the management of GBN for giving us that opportunity to enlighten the public. Yes, you have made the point with reference to congestion, and I want to start off by just giving an idea as to the amount of vehicles that we have registered in Grenada.
Too much.
In excess of 60,000 vehicles are registered in Grenada.
Okay.
And not just 60,000 vehicles registered in Grenada, but from the time in my lifetime and your lifetime, you'll know there have been no change to our road infrastructure.
Yeah.
So definitely there will be traffic congestion based on the number I've just given to you and the nature and size and length of our roads. However, notwithstanding that, we have a responsibility from Traffic Department and the RGPF to do whatever we think is necessary for us to limit the congestion. And what you will see as we move throughout the rest of the Yuletide season, there will be a heavy increase in our patrols in and around the streets of St. George. So you'll see a number of officers placed in strategic position and location to adequately deal with traffic control, to deal with infractions, to deal with any form of unnecessary obstruction that will lead to congestion. Prohibited parking will also be addressed. What we also have to take into consideration, we have the re-implementation of the traffic lights. The traffic lights are programmed to deal with general traffic on a daily basis. With the Yuletide season, you will have a much heavier flow of traffic, which the traffic light is not programmed to deal with effectively. So what you will see happening now for the entire season, there will be officers and traffic wardens placed at the intersection where we have traffic lights to regulate the flow of traffic there. And while I make that point, it is important for me to let the public be aware that whenever a traffic officer or warden is operating at an intersection where there is a traffic light, whether functioning or not, the officer or the warden supersedes the traffic light. So persons once seen an officer or warden at that intersection should walk with the direction given by that officer or warden. And I think by us having those persons in those areas during the peak time, along with the other persons at the strategic points, be it young and Scott Street intersection, number 2 point, top of McIthill by Republic Bank intersection. This will definitely aid and help with reference to the congestion.
I'm glad you raised that point because it could be confusing at times if the public is unaware. But it leads me to another question. What level of authority do traffic wardens have?
Right. So regulation 16 have given Act 16 of 2021 laws of Grenada have given the traffic wardens a number of authority. So they have the authority for traffic control. They have the authority to issue tickets for any traffic infractions. They don't have the powers of arrest, but they have the majority of authority when it comes to traffic control and the issuance of traffic citations for different infractions, traffic-related infractions.
Okay. And I'm going to touch on a very touchy topic now because I know whenever the lines are open, people are going to call because I get it every day. The use of the sidewalks, even before the Yuletide season came in for vending. A lot of people would call and say, okay, I can't walk on the streets because an umbrella is going to blind me, or the traffic has to be, in chaos because of where vendors are and things like that. Any efforts being, we know and we've seen it, that reservations have been made in terms of designating specific areas so that people can come and vend in the heightened season now. But generally speaking, even before the season crept in, we have situations where traffic is being obstructed because an umbrella is here around that corner, or a vendor has a cart there and people can't walk. Those are the calls that I seldom walk through town, so whenever I do, I don't pay much attention to it, but these are the calls that we get daily from viewers and listeners of the GBN, of the vendors and the vending on our nation's sidewalk. From the traffic department and the RGPF in general, are there any measures and steps being in the pipeline to deal with that?
Okay, what I can say as we speak, there are measures that are put in place to facilitate the persons that normally operate vend on the sidewalk, where they have assigned an area on Melville Street that will take those vendors to operate there. We're hoping that we can have dialogue with the vendors. Now that we will remove them from the sidewalk, that practice will discontinue, and have continued dialogue to chart the way forward to see what the best approach that we can come up with for the vendors.
Let me just chime in to support the point that Mr. Baptiste made. Effective this morning, we have allocated part of Granby Street and part of Hillsborough Street, the lower part of Hillsborough Street, to vending. As everything else, when it is implemented, there has to be analysis done of it. So we have done our analysis today. The commissioner, the deputy, myself, we were in town, look at it firsthand. And it dawned on us that while we try to facilitate the vendors and ease the sidewalk up so that people can go about their business freely, we have also looked at the whole issue that Mr. Baptiste was speaking about in terms of traffic congestion. And so to find the balance between providing an avenue for vendors to vend and for vehicles to flow through the streets freely and for people to walk the sidewalk, we have encountered a few issues that we quickly addressed. So with effect from tomorrow, unfortunately, we have to ask these vendors now to relocate. So from Granby Street and Hillsborough Street, we're now asking them to occupy the Melville Street, the lower end of Melville Street, the fish market end. We used to have vending there before, and we had moved the vendors there for various reasons. Now we for the Christmas season, we're asking them to go back to that area. And that compromise is being made so that we can benefit, all of who needs to be benefited here. The motorists, the vendors, the pedestrians, the shoppers. So there has to be this balancing way. We can't just factor in pleasing one set of people. It has to be pleasing, it's a greater good for the greater amount of people. And so effective from tomorrow, we are trying the Melville Street area at the bottom end by the fish market. So we're asking all of the vendors who have occupied the Granby and Hillsborough Street today to now relocate. We've put out a release today, so I am sure that this is not news to these vendors. We've put out a release. We've engaged some of them individually, so they're aware of that. So tomorrow we will be on the ground looking at it to ensure that it works well for everyone.
And while that is good, what's about I'm not very good with the names of the streets, right? So Granby and Hillsborough Street, I'm trying to cipher that out in my head while you're talking. But let's look at the vendors that vend in front of, is that Foodland or Food Fair opposite the market square?
Yeah, that's Foodland. That's Foodland.
Is that part of Granby Street?
No, that's Halifax Street.
Halifax Street.
That street that runs in front of Foodland to go up to the number 1 traffic point. That's Halifax Street.
Okay.
We've had some vendors that had occupied the sidewalk of that particular street. They were asked to move. They have complied. The intention, Innocent, is to give the streets back to the pedestrians. As you rightfully said in your introduction of this segment, people complain about the umbrellas joking their eye, the encroachment of the umbrellas, and forces the people to walk in the road and exposes them to being hit by a vehicle. We've looked at all of that, and that's one of the reasons why we consider now is the time to start. This is Christmas. There are additional people in the street. There are additional shoppers out. There are kids coming into town, and we can't afford for a vehicle to knock somebody down because they were forced to walk in the road because the streets are taken up for vendors. So we've moved to fix this, and hopefully there'll be a permanent fix of this, and the streets will be given back to those who need the streets to go about their business in safety.
Because one of the concerns that a lot of the callers would raise is that the law is there. The law is just not being enforced. The vendors should not be there, and the officers are walking through town and they're seeing some of the officers even buy from the vendors, and the market is empty and so forth. So,
but you see, Innocent, while that is true, there is different levels of authority, and there is different government entities that have different authority. Now, we are not responsible for the market. So while we can enforce the sidewalk vending, when we displace these people from the sidewalk, there is somewhere for them to go. Somebody else needs to pick up that slack and say, the police has moved you from the street, here's where we can put you. So there has to be a whole of government intervention in finding a solution that is holistic for everybody, and not the police working by themselves, the ministry working by themselves, and everybody doing their own thing. We have to come around the table, all the agencies that are responsible, so we find a lasting solution. Because we can go to town every day and say, don't sell on the sidewalk. But where are all these hundreds of people going to go? We can't be so selfish and call us to say, you can't sell here and we don't care where you sell. Livelihood is involved here. Yeah? And so we've been working with other government agencies and entities to ensure that people who have booths in the market, and you will be surprised to know, some of the people who are selling on the sidewalk actually has booths in the market and is paying for a booth in the market. But as they say, it's a more lucrative business being on the street. So we are clamping down on that. If you have a booth in the market, we ask you to occupy that booth in the market. Leave the streets or what we're creating now for the seasonal vendors, the people who will just come out just for Christmas to get that extra dollar, the extra barrel, the extra thing to sell. And if you have a booth in the market, we ask you to occupy that booth.
It is also recommended quite a number of times on programs that even the shoppers have a part to play in that, because if every shopper decide that they're not going to purchase from vendors on the sidewalks and they go into the market, it's similar with the busmen. The bus stop is here, but you're stopping down, you're packing up down there and wait on a bus. So the busman is going to stop here. If everybody comes to the bus stop, the busman would realize, well, that's where the bus stop is. So it's really a balancing act, right? The population has a part to play as well if you only buy in the market. Because I've had callers that say, I'm not buying from them on the sidewalk. I'm going to go in the market. So maybe that too, it has a lot to do with the whole reformation of the psyche of the people as well. Folks, we got to take a commercial break. This is Beyond the Headlines. I'm speaking with the RGPF tonight as we look at security measures and other issues for the Yuletide season and beyond. We'll be back after these messages. Don't you go anywhere.
I am immunized. I am protected. Our children and nation depend on vaccination for immunization. Childhood vaccination is national priority. It is their protection from disease and sicknesses. Let's all be VIPs and safeguard our beautiful Grenada. I am DJ Blackstorm and I am a VIP health champion. Be a VIP like me.
Let's all be VIP champions.
A message from the Ministry of Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs, Be a VIP Childhood Vaccination and Immunization Campaign in collaboration with UNICEF and the Pan American Health Organization.
Calling all songbirds and lyrical legends, the Independence Calypso Monarch is here. And this time, we're doing it bigger than ever as we celebrate Grenada's 50th. Over $50,000 in prize money to be won. Show your patriotism, devotion, and love for your country with your original piece under the theme, One People, One Journey, One Future. Don't wait. Submit your song by January 4, 2024 to the Ministry of Culture or email it to sco@culture.gov.gd. This is more than a competition. It's your chance to be part of Grenada's once in a lifetime Jubilee celebrations. Grenada awaits the next Independence Calypso Monarch, and it could be you.
I'm addicted to Kaiso.
It's a happier holiday when every wish and dream can come alive for those you love and cherish with a loan from Nexa Credit Union. Just think of the experiences you could share, the surprises you could gift, and the memories you could make with a little extra in your pocket this Christmas. Our Happier Holiday Loan is about the happiness and warmth it can bring because there's no need to worry. Unwrap more than just gifts. Experience heartfelt connections and joyous celebrations with family and friends. Get up to $50,000 for home furnishings, renovations, gifts, and more while enjoying easy repayment terms, affordable interest rates, and quick approvals. So, dream a little bigger and enjoy discounts galore at our favorite partner stores. Make your holidays happier with Nexa. Call us at 440-1354. Visit our website at nexacreditunion.com or email us at loans@nexacreditunion.com. Nexa Credit Union, with you wherever your road leads.
Glow with Grand Lake this holiday season. Download our app for a joyful reason. When free electricity isn't that grand, download the app, power in your hand. Check your balance with ease, manage accounts, it's a breeze. Outage alerts come through, report faults, we're here for you. 150 customers can win $150 in electricity credit, and 5 of you can win $1,500 in free electricity. Simply download and keep using the Grenlec app. Glow with Grenlec this holiday season. Download our app, power in your hand. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. It's Beyond the Headlines for today, Monday, the 18th day of December, Christmas. Could you imagine, gentlemen, next week at this time, we're saying when Mr. Christmas was here? It's gone, you know. And all the hard work and emphasis that is placed on that particular day, in my opinion, is the day that goes the fastest. You know, for the family, people who spend the whole night and making preparation, don't get sleep, and by the time they finish, make breakfast, lunch is almost ready, and then before you sit down to eat, dark night come. You know, another aspect that I want us to touch on, which is very critical also in this dispensation, is cybersecurity. A lot of things are happening online nowadays. A lot of transactions taking place. Amazon and all those foreign websites and so forth, people make purchases. And just as people are using the technology for their good, there are other people who are likewise using it for their good, but it's negative.
Yeah, and that is true. And I want to start by saying this without putting fear out there. Any system that is built by man man has a way of breaking that system. So we hear about safe sites and encryption and everything else, but man created those, and there are people who work for you now to create those encryption, and tomorrow they work for the criminals to break those encryption. So I say all of that to say, no, we're really safe, and no transaction really is safe, but there are some safeguards that helps you to make purchases that are safer than others. I am no expert on cybercrime, but I can tell you, part of my training and experience, is that you need to know how to look at sites that you shop on. For instance, you would see some sites that say HTTP and HTTPS.
Yes,
the S means a significant difference here. The S here speaks of security, adding an advanced security as opposed to a site that doesn't have the S.
I mean, you making that observation, you could teach IT in CC, man.
I mean, I've had the privilege of quite a lot of international training and so on, and exposure in those fields. And so if you're going to shop online, make sure that the site you're shopping on is safe. Look for the S in the HTTP. While it wouldn't guarantee you 100% security, but at least you perhaps will get 90-95% security. So that's one issue of it. Secondly, people shop on sites where bargains are too good to be true. And if some things are too good to be true, there might just be a catch. They might just want you to expose your credit card. And on using that credit card, you may not have, all the credit that you have in this particular account might just go. This is Christmas. This is the hype of shopping. This is the hype of online shopping. And while most customers will be, inclined to shop online, bet your bottom dollar that the criminal underworld is also using the period to undermine the integrity and security of online shopping. So it's a risk we all take. I don't want to talk about banks. I don't want to talk about credit unions, but things happen in those institutions as well. Yes, you just have to take the chance, but make sure that when you take those chances, you at least lend on some of the security that exists in those institutions. Encryption is critical. It means that your credit card information and your personal information will not be easily accessible by criminals. They would have to have the technology beyond some of the banks and beyond some of the institutions and beyond some of the online sites to be able to get your information. But on a daily basis, and I'm not only talking Grenada, on a daily basis, criminals infiltrate the most secure of online shopping. It's something that is here with us, something that is going to be here with us, and I don't think we will ever get away from that. As I indicated before, man created those structures, and today men work to build the hardening of those targets, and tomorrow they find themselves on the other side of that. And so anything man build, man will infiltrate. What is meant for good can also be used for
On
bad.
that note, I know my good colleague, I like to call him the Honorable, Jarvis Dabrio from CSERT. I know you're attached to the program, and if by chance you're not, someone will tell you. So a little later on in the program, I'd like you to call in and share some information, safety information, as it relates to cyber security on the program a little later. But there are some do's and don'ts, even the use of the ATMs and so forth. I'd like for us to shed some light on that. The do's and don'ts in utilizing the ATMs, for example, the location. How do you, secure yourself and things like that.
Right. In looking at the ATM, if you want to withdraw cash, please ensure when you go there, probably there is no one looking on as to close by to see your code and everything that you would have entered. The cash that you're looking to withdraw, let it be basically what you want. In terms of persons going and deposit, try to change up the hours. Business places, we know that they may have a large sum of cash, and we may find persons going one time at a given, every day they're going at the same hour. What we advise is change up the hours, change up the persons that go and deposit, because we may find persons that are looking on. If you don't want to get $10,000, make sure you have someone else along with you to provide that level of security for you. Just an example, because you don't want to be walking out from point to point with that large sum of cash and no one is really giving you that level of security. What we find with the high influx of persons in the town, there might be someone looking on. Ladies, for example, we find that they have their bags, and sometimes they carry their bags on their shoulder with one strap down. You're creating an easy opportunity, an easy means of access for someone to really get into your bag and steal your cash or your purse. We had several reports in the past of similar incidents. So we strongly advise in terms of going to the ATM, get a company, try to ensure you go there in day when outside is properly lit. If there is someone close by while you're withdrawing that cash, be mindful of their presence and try to ensure that you protect your security code. We have seen in the past where persons set up device on the ATM machine to really capture that code that you are entering. We had experience in the past where we would have preferred some charges and persons with that, so be mindful of any alteration to the machine. Just ensure that you try to play it safe as much as possible.
Let me jump in here real quick, because I had an experience last week in the ATM, and one of the things we want to say to people is do not ask for help in the ATM from other customers waiting to use the ATM. If you have an issue, go to the bank. And if it is not in a bank, perhaps you should just abandon whatever you're trying to do. Last week I was in an ATM and there was this lady who was having some difficulties and she was asking for help. And I had to go up to her and say, listen, don't do this. She did not know who I was. And then I pulled her aside and said, I'm a police officer. You don't do that in the ATM. You're in the bank. If you have a difficulty, you go to the bank. You don't know who I am. I can help you. But at the end of the day, you may not have money in that account again. So you have to be smart when you're dealing with ATM. There are people who come to ATM not to withdraw or not to deposit. They're hoping that somebody will ask for help and make themselves vulnerable, seize that opportunity, and you become a victim. So if it's a case where you're in a bank and you're having difficulties, go to the counter and get the help from the counter. Don't look back in the line and see who is there and say, except you really know the person and trust the person. But randomly, do not ask for help in the ATM. If the transaction is not going through, I would advise you to abandon the transaction and do something else, try something else, but don't ask for help, particularly from strangers.
Okay. Mr. Hall raised a very critical point. In the height of the season now, turnover in businesses increase. So you find large sums of monies being collected. What security measures can business places take? Okay, you've hinted the use of different personnel in doing deposits and so forth, also rotating your timing so that you don't go at 8 o'clock every night. So when the store is closed, that's when you go to deposit. Are there security detail that can be utilized to secure business, especially in deposit runs and so forth? We know we have quite a number of private security firms and so forth. Is that encouraged?
Yes, it is encouraged, especially as you say, time like now, we try to advise these business places to hire private security companies from the point of entry to your place, ensure that there is someone there that could control the amount of people coming in and leaving your place. You want to have that security in terms of your deposit, as you say. There are a number of private companies that are willing to explore that level of work, so you can employ these people to ensure that they're helping protecting your property.
Okay, so businesses, you heard that, all right? There are times when you have to understand, as the wise folks would say, when less is more. You might think you have to pay a little extra for security detail, but in the long run, it might be just saving you a lot. All right, so don't major in the minors, do the right thing. With the season, we have a lot of activities, major activities. For example, there's a big one coming up in the stadium next Saturday, the eve of December to remember, and things like that. What sort of security from the RGPF would be? I mean, maybe even if the promoter of that particular event, they must have security detail for the event, but generally speaking, are we going to see heightened police presence wherever these activities are, and traffic control and things like that for that?
Okay, as I will speak specifically as it relates to traffic control. When we have those type of events, the promoter will do their application to police headquarters, and you normally have a site visit or a walkthrough with the promoter or representative, and based on what they outline to us, based on the expected crowd and so forth, we will determine what sort of plan that needs to be put in place. But for every activity, be it Kirani James Stadium or the cricket stadium, we have a standard traffic management plan that is enforced. And for that event, I received the approval from headquarters today in form of a correspondence for us to put measures in place. So we will, based on the nature of the event, we will be enforcing our standard traffic management operation plan, something similar to what was done for the recent T20 cricket matches.
Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in here to say, because I think Baptiste started exactly where I wanted to go. Promoters don't just promote an event and execute an event outside of law enforcement. We engage them because we want to know who is coming, what your expected crowd is, what the layout of the function is going to be. And you, the promoters, don't determine the strength of the security. We determine the strength of the security. Once you present what you're doing to us, we will tell you what is needed to secure the event. So before we grant you a permit to have that function, we will tell you it will require X amount of security to secure the patrons and whatever else needs to be secured. If you do not agree, I am not saying we're not going to grant you the permit, but we're not going to put anybody at risk. Yeah, we're not going to grant permission for a function that we believe is going to present dangers to the public. But we've been able to work hand in glove with the promoters across the island to be able to arrive at junctures that benefit both law enforcement, the patrons, the promoters, and everybody else. So that is how it is done. We do a walkthrough on the ground because we want to know where your VIP section is going to be, how much people you're expected there, how much gates you're going to use, where the gates are going to be, how much people you're expecting, because security is hinged on facts. Not somebody wanting to do a promotion and want to pay zero for security and expecting 300 and 400 people. Who's going to secure these people? The monies that you're collecting, how are you going to get it to the bank? See, all of these things we have to look at, because at the end of the day, crimes for us is a big thing, right? Small crimes, medium crimes, serious crimes. Crimes for us is big. And we do all we can on a daily basis to see how we can mitigate against the commission of crimes. So because it's a promotion or an event, we don't just leave it up to the whims and fancies of the promoter. We guide, we provide counseling, we provide guidance, we provide information, so how you could make your event better and safer. So there is this relationship that we have with them before permission is granted. And then if we talk in the stadium, there is a standard traffic plan, as Mr. Baptiste says. The bigger your event, then more consideration have to be given to the standard traffic plan that we have. We have a plan that manages whatever happens at the stadium. That's the traffic plan I'm talking about. If you're having like the Wagiti Bingo, those big ones, you'll see a different plan than if you're just having an event that perhaps we expect just 100 people. So we don't just download our standard on everybody. It has to be based on what we're having, what are the issues on the ground, what are the facts we're dealing with, and we provide security, or we advise you on security based on the expectation.
So in essence, there's a scientific approach to it.
There is. We don't just put police on the ground, or we don't just tell you, you need 10, you need 15. We know how much police it will take to police the amount of people that you're expecting. And then we have to look at your gates, your VIPs, your monies, your bars. All of these things have to be taken into consideration. We work the maths out. And we would say to you that to properly secure this event will require X amount of police officers. For private events, the officers I'm talking about is officers that the promoters have to pay, not police officers to provide their services freely. Because it's a private event. But at the end of the day, one may say, well, it's a private event, and why you have to pay for the police? But if you don't pay for the police and the police is not there, we might move from a private event to a lot of private crimes, if I can call it that.
Yeah. I was left in awe sometime last week when I saw the post on Facebook where there was a school's tournament, football tournament, and the number of weapons that were confiscated. in this season, sad because it's the birth of Christ, or so they say. All right, and where everybody should be good, and but this is one of the time when people use the opportunity to to delve into illicit weapons and illegal weapons and so forth. Are there any methods that the RGPF will be enforcing to, for example, impromptu stop and search randomly and so forth?
Well, we're not going to talk a lot about some of the strategies that we will be employing, but you're going to rest assured that we have planned and will be doing everything to guarantee citizen safety. You will see pop-ups. You will see pop-ups in different places at different times. You will see pop-ups early in the evening, midnight, early in the morning. And we're not going to talk about where they're going to be and how we're going to do them. But yes, you can rest assured that they're going to be presence. The big shows that you spoke about, they're going to be searches. There will be stop and search at different places, different times, different hours, different dynamics are involved. I can't talk about all of the security arrangements that are in place, but the whole intention here is to ensure that people can go about their shopping and their daily lives without the fear of crime. And law enforcement is here to make sure that you don't have to worry about what we have to worry about for you. So we take that burden off your back. Don't worry about it. We're going to worry about that. Go do your shopping, bake your cake, buy your ham, and we are going to ensure as much as is possible that we put the systems in place that you can do that with a peace of mind and don't have to, while you're doing that, worry about crimes, the fear of crimes, criminal elements. But you touched a little bit about the school fear, and I'm kind of happy you raised it. I don't want to talk about what has happened, except to say that subsequent to that event, we have had a sit down with the PS and the new CTO and some of the people from the Ministry of Education, because the intention here is never to have that happen again. And so we've looked at it, we've looked at what happened, what we could have done different, what was best practice, and I am very confident that the discussion that we have started is going to be and yield fruits going forward, and that we will be there to ensure that all of these school events are well policed. In fact, in that discussion, I said to the people around the table, if you don't invite law enforcement in what you're doing, we will invite ourselves. And that is how serious we're taking it. Because if we lose the generation behind, then we've lost it all. And so if one person slip, if one sector slip, if one organization, one agency slip, others need to be awakened. And so even if the ministry or some other entity felt that they didn't want the police, whatever the case might be, we're going to insert ourselves into a situation that provide the safety and security to our young people. And I want to say to you categorically that what happened then will not happen again.
Maybe something different, but not the same.
Not this one. Not the same incident will happen again. No. We have, and the thing about it, Innocent, is that when things happened, we don't point fingers. We don't blame police, teachers, nurses. We look at solutions. We go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, what could have happened differently here? And we have found solutions. And what we are positive about things, not looking back on what could have happened, what should have happened, what might have happened. It happened. Let us prevent it from happening going forward. So let's find strategies to deal with it. And if it doesn't work that way, this is what's going to happen. If it doesn't work, but there will be police present, guaranteed, in all of these activities that happen in my schools where our young people are at. Because if you look at our statistics, you see where our crimes are coming from. We look at the age group of the people who are committing the crimes, and we've seen that. And we realize we have a responsibility to our young people. And by and large, if they cannot police themselves, we'll help them police themselves for the good of themselves, not for the good of RGPF, for the good of the country. We'll help them police themselves.
I know from Special Victims Unit, SVU, from previous conversations, they had this program where they were visiting schools and having conversations as it relates to violence and gender-based violence and so forth. Is that a strategy that will be generally employed by the RGPF, taking that sort of proactive stand, preventing it even before it occurs, nipping it in the bud?
Well, that program is still there, and we're building on that program now. And I think it might be an opportune time for me to say to the public here, we have just instituted a community policing officer to look at all of these issues, all of these nuances, whether it's schools, whether it's community groups. We are inserting ourselves back into our communities. Because you know why we're doing that? We realize that we have had the greatest success when we work with our community. Community policing is what drives the successes that we have had and keep our crime low. We've kind of stepped away from this for a little and realizing that that was an error. And so we're now going back into the community. So apart from the special victim unit, our community policing officer is mandated to ensure that we have presence in almost every organization that happens in Grenada, whether it's in the churches, whether it's in the school, whether you talk about talk about the pre-dialysis, the farm watch. We're going back into those things. We are again galvanizing, the different constituents to be able to help them police themselves, being supported by RGPF. So you will see a lot more of that. As 2024 rolls in, a lot of the plans and programs of the RGPF will roll out, geared towards citizen safety, geared towards crime reduction, geared towards ensuring that the tranquility and peace of Grenada remains and get better.
I like this approach, proactive. Folks, we've got to take another commercial break, and on the resumption, we'll have that segment where you can call in. The number that you can call in, it's 440-1252. We'll be back after these messages. Don't you go anywhere.
Have you heard about the new Softweave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Softweave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue, available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Softweave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information.
Do you have muscular pain that no one can find a solution for? Are you tired of taking meds for joint and other pains? Hills and Valley Medicare Center on Grenville Street, St. George is here to help you heal. We will help you map a path to your full recovery. Visit us Monday to Saturday for a consultation with our on-site doctor, physiotherapist, and massage team. You will be glad you did. Our Medicare Center, a proud member of the Hills and Valley group of companies. On the hilltop or in the valley, we are with you wherever life takes you. Hills and Valley Pharmacy. Your health is our business.
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. Final moments of Beyond the Headlines for tonight. And let me just give you this preamble here that this is actually going to be our last program for the year. The next time we'll host or have another Beyond the Headlines program will be in 2024. All right, so please take note of that. Once again, I'm speaking with members from the RGPF. As is customary, the festive season is here, and the police. And again, last week I did it, and I'm going to do it again. You know, the RGPF has taken this sort of proactive, scientific approach to policing. And before we go any further, I do have a caller on the line. Caller, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good night, Gordon and your guest. I was listening to the program and I heard you all talk about the vendors. I am really suggesting that there is a space between each of the markets. The market that is covered, there is a space between each of them. The vendors, I find some of them could just put the tables that they have just like in the middle and have the stuff under the table or so on. They could get a little sale there too, you know.
Okay.
Because the sidewalk, the space there is much bigger than the sidewalk. So what they're doing on the side, they could have their one little table, so you could have 3 or 4 tables between the two markets.
So, caller, before you run off, let me ask you this. Are you in agreement with the fact that the vending on the sidewalk is really a sort of eyesore?
I didn't hear that.
Are you in agreement with the fact that people are claiming that the vending on the sidewalk where pedestrians should be walking is one, dangerous, and it looks unsightly? Are you agreeing with that?
Yes, it is, because I remember I was walking and then a vehicle was coming and that is in front of Footland, and a lady actually had to go right down in the drain to stand up. There were vehicles, there was no space for the person in the vehicle to turn from Hillsborough to go back, and Halifax is going back to going up to Canashiel there. The lady had to go down in the drain. So it's not right at all. And the umbrellas, and when you talk to the people, they want to have it and they want to stretch out their foot. And anyway, I don't think the sidewalk should be at all a place for vending.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. Have a good evening.
Well said.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what we're trying to do. Give the sidewalk back to the pedestrians. Make it safer for people to walk the streets of St. George's, do the shopping, and do what needs to be done.
Okay. All right. I'm very certain that there might be one of my callers that will call and talk about people with disabilities. You know, this affects them, especially the visually impaired. You know, the fact of the matter is, I do not want the vendors to get too much on the defensive nor on the offensive, but see it for what it's really worth. You know, there are times, put yourself, we refer to that as empathy, put yourself in other people's position and look at it from a passers-by perspective. We do have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening and welcome to the program.
Hello, good afternoon.
Welcome to the program.
Well, okay, I want to ask a question.
Please do.
What has happened? I have pulled a piece of land, right?
You have what?
Pulled a piece of land. And Mr. sister-in-law tell me she walk with my bank book to put the money in the bank.
Okay.
And what she did, she never put the money in the bank. Right? She make use of the money. He said, I tell she to lend the boyfriend how much? $40,000 because he get to buy a piece of a drug to sell. And I never told her that.
Well, caller, before you go any further, this one is highly personal, so my suggestion to you is you can do one of two things. You either go and make a formal report to the police, or you get your attorney to get involved in this, because this is intricately personal.
I get an attorney, but like an attorney and them free the husband.
Well, go to the police. The police wouldn't be afraid, right? The police is there to protect and serve people like you. So make a report to the police, the FIU or CID or any one of the agencies, okay?
I want my money because I can see.
Okay, thank you, caller. Thank you, caller. Yeah, report it to the police.
He might be dealing with perhaps a case of stealing or perhaps fraudulent breach of trust. One way or the other, he needs to come in and make a report so we can do the investigation to determine if there are any crime and what crime there is and what, you know, what authority we have, whether it's civil or criminal. But I don't think I can provide any answer being here based on what he's saying without knowing all of the facts.
That's good. So in the interlude, while we head towards the end of the program and while we wait on callers to call in, because I know quite a number of callers would have certain queries that they'd like clarified. I'm still waiting on Mr. Jarvis Dabrio to give us a call. You know, Mr. Dabrio, give us a call and give us some tips. I promise to bring you in on the morning program. Maybe we can do this week, because we do have a caller on the line, I'm told. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Hello, good evening.
Welcome to the program.
Yes, thank you. I have one question here to the police officers. What plan does the police have for those vendors on the market steps, especially those who put the carrot case and the table in the road? I say this because when people are buying from them and others are passing and the vehicles are coming at the same time, there is no way for we to walk than run from the vehicle that is coming behind us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller.
Yeah, that's a critical point. She's making the point that I made earlier. The tables are actually on the edge of the road. And to purchase from some of these vendors, you have to stand in the road to do that. And this is some of the issues that we're trying to fix right now. As I said, the discussion has started. The movement has started. We have relocated some of them to 2 areas today, and we'll be relocating them tomorrow to another area where it's safer. I cannot guarantee to this caller that everything is going to get fixed this week, but it is a work in progress. We are working on it, we understand the dangers, and we're working with our partners in government, the other entities, to ensure that we provide that kind of safety to the public.
Okay. We do have another caller online. Caller, good evening and welcome to the program.
Yes, good night.
Welcome.
I am a man who believes in law, order, and peace. Now I'm wondering, all these sessions the police have interviewing people A, B, C, and D. Sometimes I wonder if the police does work at all. When I go in town, I have a sciatic nerve on my right side. I can hardly walk. Vendors occupy the sidewalk. It is against the law. If we have law and order, it is against the law, officers. And officers are passing left, right, and center. Look, we have a Noise Control Act. Vehicles are bombarding you with noise. Blow. Some taking out the silencer in the vehicles and in the motorbikes and revving it 100%. And some have the loudest speakers in the vehicle, blasting it. Are you trying to tell me the police force is deaf? And look at the Christmas season is coming. 3 nights ago, I couldn't sleep in my house in Victoria. And in the video, about 200 yards, blasting on this music. I had to leave my house and go by the road and rest until about 3 hours after the music stopped. Come on, tell me. Couldn't the police go and say, stop this loud bass there? Can you imagine inside my house? My pillow trembling, my waist shaking up with noise. Is this law and order? Just give me the answer, please. I want to know.
Thank you very much, caller. Now, before any of you respond, I want to add to this concern. The Noise Pollution Act, is it effective? Is it?
With all pieces of legislation, there are loopholes. And I wouldn't say that it is effective the way we all probably would want to see. Every legislation has its loophole. But let me answer this and draw in a little bit on what the caller has said. What we have come to notice is that we out here every day on programs, and we've asked for the support and cooperation and collaboration of the public. And I have said from time to time on many programs that the police force alone cannot police Grenada. It requires all of us to play our part to ensure the greater good for the greater number of people. The vehicles that he spoke about, We hear some of them, we deal with some of them. We don't hear most of them, but he hears them. Other members of the public hear them. Who is calling into the police? Most times we don't get those calls. We hear about noise pollution and people complain, oh, the police is not doing this, but some of the people who are affected are not calling the police. In a lot of instances, and I can say that for a fact, I know that when those calls come in, we respond. But there is a caveat here, and I want to address it. While noise affects a large number of people, noise sometimes should be tolerated for other good. And I want to make it clear. I want to explain what I'm saying. There are community initiatives that needs to happen for the good of community. There might be 3 or 4 or 5 people in the community who may have issues with the noise, and we understand that. But how do we shut down activities in an entire community and starve the community of much needed revenue, much needed socialization? So there has to be a balance. And so when people ask for permission to have events, we determine the level of the noise. We go out there and ensure by and large that what we grant permission for is what happens. But we can't be all places at all times. And so we require the citizenry to call us and say, listen, I'm in my house, I can't hear myself, the noise is too loud. Many times we go out and realize that people who we grant permission for are actually playing the music too loud. And we've closed down some of these activities. We've asked them to lower the volume on other activities. And while people have issues with noise, I don't think we can live in a community where there is absolutely no noise. And so there has to be tolerance, as well as there has to be, you used the word before, empathy. You're living in a community where there are old people, there are children, people are going to school, they're studying. You have to take that into consideration. So having a permit from the police to have an activity doesn't grant you permission to turn it up and disturb the entire neighborhood. So we expect people who apply for permission to be considerate. And when you're not considerate, I know we have shut a lot of activities down, having granted the permission up front, and we realize that we come, or we get a call and we come to the venue and you had no consideration for the neighborhood, we ask you to stop. But as I indicated, there are some communities where we have either elderly or young people, but the purpose for which sometimes they apply for the permit is one that we can't say we're not granting it, because it might be for a community good. There are communities that raise funds to do hampers, to help children go back to school, to build the community in one way or the other. If you shut those down, you're actually stifling the community of much needed development itself.
So there must be some measure of balance.
Balance, consideration, empathy.
Okay. We do have another caller online. Caller, good evening and welcome to the program.
Yes, good evening. I call to make my contribution with regards to the street vending. Now, let's take it outside of Christmas. Grenville, I could talk for Grenville because that's my shopping area. When you go to the market on a Friday or a Saturday in Grenville or during the week, the stalls, you have several empty blocks, stalls that could be used by the vendors. Now, this is what the market was built for. So I think it's time that we make it mandatory that the people utilize the market. When they're on the sidewalk, now, I'm trying to develop a thing, even though you're my best friend, not to buy for you from you on the sidewalk. The reason is, when I do that, I'm encouraging you in slackness, in breaking the law. Now, when you're on the sidewalk, now these people are on the sidewalk, you have to guard yourself from being knocked down by an oncoming vehicle. And if perchance, in trying to escape the vehicle, you walk to bounce the tree, or you notice now they put in the tents in the road. They want to vex with you and feel they could tell you what they want. And I think this is unfair to the ordinary man who is trying to be law-abiding. And these people are coming. So I think not just for Christmas. Well, now it's willy-nilly on the street, as you see. Because even though we have what we call cornered off streets for people to vend, you still have those coming, the chairs in the road, the tent is on the sidewalk into the road, and it makes it difficult for people. I think it's time that we take a stance and get these people off the street, let them utilize the market. This is what the market was built for. And not only now Christmas time, but this should be something all through the year, because all through the year it happens. It's escalated more when it's Christmas, but I think it's time that we take a stance and get these people off the street. Let's see it beyond just wanting to get a vote or not getting a vote, and let's take a stance, because we'll continue to be lawless, and if we do not do that, we'll never change our country if we continue to give credence to those lawless people who feel they could do what they want and get. I understand the fact that...
Thank you very much, caller.
All I would say is well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Very well said.
Let me ask this. Would it appear to be draconian if, for example, in Grenada, the right side of the road to drive is the left, right? Sounds kind of tricky. Your right side is the left. And if you're caught driving on the right side of the road, you could be charged, right? So it might sound draconian to say, okay, you're not supposed to vend here, move. That's draconian?
In a sense, no, because that's the law. But, there has to be balance, because at the end of the day, as I said before, is the balloon effect. When you squeeze the balloon on one side, it pops up on the next side. What we want is that no street vending. So it's better to work with the other entities of government to say, if you cannot sell on the sidewalk, here is where you can sell, so we don't have the issue. But to wake up one day and say no sidewalk vending, that is enforcing the law. But at the same time, we'll be displacing other people's livelihood without consideration. Now, one may say, well, just do that. But no, we want to ensure that the entity that is responsible for these people's livelihood continued is on board. So when law enforcement say, don't vend here, somebody can say, we provided that avenue here for you. Yes.
Okay, they move it from there. Come here.
Balance.
We do have a caller. Caller, good evening and welcome to the program.
Hello, good night, Innocent.
Welcome, how you do?
I did it, good night,
compliments for the season.
Same to everybody. Yes, I have a problem with the noise with the vehicle and them too. Sometime last week, Wednesday night, a vehicle stopped in the junction by me and the noise was real loud. The galvanized is banging. And when I can't take too much because I have a 3 weeks baby looking after because the baby mother died. I cannot see baby to put the baby to sleep. And that man come in the junction there with that music playing so loud. I get up and I go to him. I didn't even know who the vehicle for. So he had about 6 of them sit down there. I say, woi. That night too loud for that baby, man. I said, the baby just had 3 weeks. And you just come in the junction singing music. So the man tried to cost me. I don't make no noise with him. When they like, I call the police. I say, go to so and tell him, I say, don't come in my child's funeral. Don't come in the happy hour. Because he's telling me, go come back in the happy hour and make more noise. And to tell you the honest truth, the police did work with me. Thumbs up to the police for that. And the next point I have to make, I have no problem with the thief. The thief could thief until they're dead. I have no problem with them. But you see the buyers? The buyers are very wicked. I listen to a cocaine man tell me, he says, Susan, you have vendors out there that will send us and dig people potato. They're telling you, get a bag of potato, give them, you will get a $10. And we so thirsty, we run in and get it and bring it, give them. Lock up the people that buy in. Because the people that buy in what is encouraging the thief. Because if the thief don't get business, they would never thief. But as long as they get in business, they go always thief. So lock up the buyers and let the thief go free. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good one yourself. Just about wrapping up time. So what we are going to do is we are going to do some reinforcement from traffic. We are going to do some reinforcement from crime prevention, and then you'll culminate it. So ASP Baptiste.
Thank you very much once again, Mr. Joseph, and let me use that opportunity to say a special thank you to the management of GBN once more, and it would be remiss of me if I come here and don't use that opportunity, despite the limited time, to say a special thank you to the entire traffic staff within the Trial and State of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique, and that include police officers, wardens, Imani, and civilian staff. I really want to express my profound gratitude to them for the level of commitment and dedication to duty and the support that they have given me throughout the year 2023. So I want to say heartful thanks to each and every one of them. And in closing, I want to remind the public that, as the saying goes, tourism is everybody's business. So too is road safety. And my reason for saying that is because each and every one of us have a part to play or uses our nation roads, be it as a pedestrian, be it as a passenger in a vehicle, be it as a motorist. So I want to encourage us to do whatever is necessary. Let us play our role in the most rightful way to do what is required of us to ensure that we keep Grenada roads safe for all its road users.
Thank you. It's amazing how times change. As my good friend Oliver Samuel, comedian from Jamaica, would say, my, how times have changed, because in the commencement of the program he was saying 1.5 more that long, but he's just saying this limited time. ASP Hall.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity to share these tips with the general public as to how to protect themselves and their property. But like ASP Baptiste, let me also say thanks to the entire staff of the CID, CRO, DFU, SVU for the support and commitment that they have shown over the past year. Their contribution to fighting crime is evident based on the result that we are seeing. Also, let me say thanks to the general public. Without the general public, we are not able to have this success in terms of our solving rate and the reduction that we are seeing in serious crime for the period. So I wish everybody all the best for the Christmas season, and I hope in the new year that we can continue our fight as we try to keep crime under control.
Thank you very much.
In closing and in summary, let me back up a little bit. I think that's something I wanted to say earlier on. If you did not take a chance in anything for the Christmas, the email that you're going to get, because I know you're going to get it, that say you want this and you need to send this, I want to implore to people, don't fall victim to online scam, don't fall victim to online. If you did not take a chance, you know you have nothing to win, so don't send any money hoping to get anything. Having said that, I want to take the opportunity to thank GBN for the entire year. They've been a really good partner with us and for us. On the rest of the media in Grenada, we want to thank you for the services you've provided, helping us get our messages out, whether it's road safety, whether it's crime. Thanks a lot for that. I want to thank the public who has been so instrumental in ensuring that Grenada remains the peaceful place that it is. Without you, the public, we would not have been enjoying the successes that we have had in 2023. So on behalf of the Commissioner of Police and the Executive of the Force, rank and file, I want to wish you all of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique a Merry Christmas. I wish everyone safe, have fun, have it clean, see something, say something. Let's together ensure that the 110,000 of us ensure that all of us remain safe in 2024. Shared responsibility is the mantra for law enforcement for 2024. Each one playing his or her part in ensuring that all of us keep Grenada as peaceful as it is. Good night, everyone.
Well, I'd like to take the opportunity in closing to say, on behalf of the management and the staff of the GBN, extend, a season's greetings to the Commissioner and the entire rank and file of the RGPF, and I'd like to, continue to support the initiatives of the RGPF in whatever way we can. I think we're a good partnership, and we look forward to more collaborative efforts in 2024 as we put Grenada first in all that we do, ensuring that our citizenry are well protected. So on behalf of the GBN, again, thank you for being here with us tonight, and we'd like to wish you all a very, very safe, enjoyable, take some time off Christmas while you protect and serve. So once again, gentlemen, and to you, our beloved viewers and listeners, just reminding you that this is going to be our last program for 2023. We look forward to your continued engagement and participation come 2024. From Beyond the Headlines, have a safe, enjoyable, spirit-filled Christmas, and we embrace 2024 together. Thank you very much. I love you. Bye-bye.